Oh, hello. Welcome to another video. In this video, it's going to be my kind of report on the Kill Team Operations Tournament, which happened as I'm recording this on Monday. It was just yesterday and the day before, up at Warhow World in Nottingham. So this is the team event that I previously went through the pack for. This was myself, Mrs. Tabletop Impulse, and Zimbad went up to this one. And here are my rundown and impressions of how it went for us. So the first thing to say is it's a Warhow World tournament, and Warhow World tournaments are unlike any other. And the two big issues for that are the terrain and the staffing. First of all, you've got an amazing quantity of painted, like well painted, Games Workshop plastic terrain on all the tables, and the level of staff there looking after you. You know, there was a team of 2 tournament organisers. They had like a paid spare player, like extra guy that was going around and just checking up, making sure everything was in the right place. Obviously, you've got all the staff. In Bugman's, actually, people would come out to you and it only happened to me once because I guess they were pretty busy on the Saturday. But they would come out to your table while you're playing and be like, "Oh, do you want any drinks?" And they order a coffee and then bring you the coffee and tap your card, and service like that's really, really good. So playing at Warhammer World is, if you've never done it, like, you know, to yourself, yes, it's expensive for the tickets compared to some events at local hobby stores where you maybe don't have to pay or don't have to pay so much, but it's a really, it's like a luxury tournament experience. You also get lunch for your ticket price, so, and the food's pretty good. It's not free food from the Bugman's menu, so it's like in their staff canteen. So Saturday we had a choice of chicken curry or beef stroganoff, or I think there was a vegetarian lasagna. And on Sunday there was roast beef or roast pork with all the trimmings, or again I think there was like a vegetarian bake. The only thing I would say, like against the Warhow World staff there, that was a slight negative was when they advertised it. It had this sort of kill team quiz in Bugman's Bar, and they advertised like late closing time of Bugman's Bar itself of 10 o'clock. And that would have been nice to have something to do in the evening. So they had to cancel that with about a week and a bit's notice because of staffing issues. I totally understand, like, there's COVID and stuff, so I don't really hold it against them. But it was still a tiny little bit disappointing. We drove down on Friday, or sorry, drove up, I should say, on Friday after work, and we were staying in the Nottingham Riverside Travel Lodge, which is like a 5-minute drive from Warhow World, kind of, if that. It's just kind of the other side of the industrial estate that Warhow World itself is on. I think a lot of Warhammer players stay in that particular travel lodge. It's, you know, I think I might have said this before on this channel, but it's one of those places where if you look on the window ledges in the travel lodge there, sometimes you can see the little 25 and 32mm paint rings where things have been hastily been painted and then left to dry, obviously because there's a tournament the next day. So we rocked up there Friday evening. We went to there's a pub next door to that Riverside Farm, and we met up with 2 guys who are another team, old friends of mine. One of whom's on the Discord. If you want to talk about this stuff, Discord's a great place, especially if you're someone that goes to these Warhammer World events. So Ibex on the Discord and his friend Ben, and we got to chatted and had a few beers. Went to bed about 11 o'clock, got up bright and early the next day, headed off to Warhow World. Breakfast in Bugman's Bar, so, you know, they'll sell pretty decent cooked breakfast. Had like a bacon and sausage roll and a coffee, and then go in 10 o'clock. You got your games, then you got your break for lunch in the staff canteen, as I've already said. That was pretty good. And then your second game, and then a little break, and then third game, and then you were kind of free. So the first thing I want to say is, yeah, it's only 3 games, and they've got all these breaks built in, and that basically means that you've got, like, time's pretty fluid. On the timetable here, it's like, oh, you got 15 minutes for your pairing, and then you've got an hour 45 for your round. But realistically, at the end of round time, at the end of the round time, they said, okay, don't start another turning point. So as long as you got onto turning point 4 by the end of your round, you're able to play through the entire of the last turning point like, you were losing your own break time, but you were allowed to play through into the break time as long as you started that turning point 4. So it was, the timings were pretty relaxed. One player did, according to this laser, one player did tell me he hadn't finished any of his games, first 2 games in day one, which I find pretty difficult to fathom because there's just the timings were really, really relaxed. So then what we did in day one, after the 3rd game, sort of just sort of at around 5:30, we went up and went around the museum. So again, if you've never been to Warhammer World, they have the big hall with all the miniatures in the cabinets, all the painted models that you see in all the publications, and various things from their archives. At the moment, they're doing tanks from their archives. So they've got all various tanks from like Rogue Trader right up to current, and then there's also all the dioramas that they make. And myself and Mrs. Tails Impulse we go there quite a lot. We've been there the week before, as I've said in my open day video, but Zimbad hadn't been. Basically, they renovated Warhammer World, so he hadn't been in years, so it was quite fun going around with him and getting to see his face light up as he was looking at all the different things. That was really, really enjoyable, sort of as a second-hand joy there. And then that's also normally costs about £7 to go around. If you're going to an event, that was included. So then, again, because of the staffing issues, Warhammer World was closing at 8 o'clock. We decided not to try and get dinner in Bugman's. The Bugman's food's pretty good. It's a little bit expensive for what it is, although I suppose you are eating it in like a dwarven-themed tavern. So we decided to go. We went back to the Riverside Farm, and had dinner there and a couple of Guinnesses and talked about the day's games. I think a lot of people, like my mate Ibex and his friends on his team, they were going into Nottingham for a bit of a large night, and they tried to convince us that we wanted to go, and I might have had a bit on my... I've gone out to drink with them in Nottingham before at events, and it's been quite eye-opening. But neither Mrs. T.I. nor Zimbad are particularly big drinkers, so yeah, we just had a couple of quiet ones and went to bed. Got up the next day on the Sunday, and it's basically the same thing. So the same breakfast, then a game, then lunch, and then a game, and then, I should mention the painting competition. So on both days there was a painting competition. On the first day, you simply left out your models, and the staff would go around and look at them, and they picked like the best. So it was your team as a triad, the sort of triad that they thought was best. In the second day, on the Sunday, if you wanted to enter, you put your models in the cabinets, and then people came up and voted for the ones they thought were best. So we both entered, all 3 of us entered both of those competitions. Lunch again, round 5, break, and then round 6, and then the awards, and then you're off away driving home. So yeah, that's an overview of basically the structure of the day, and I'm going to go on to talk about the games themselves as we go along. So my first round, it's a curse of tournaments that if you know people there, you will play them in the first round. So we played against Xenofriends, so this is Ibex's team and his mates Ben and Hugo, and yeah, we played against them. So my game was a close fighting Ben's Pathfinders. It was a pretty close loss against the Pathfinders on the table pictured Master of the Terminals. Master of the Terminals is a bit of a difficult game mode because obviously he actually as well got the advantage. He was going first, so he got to place down the first one. So my home objective was turned off. I'm not saying that's the only reason that I lost, but it wasn't a sort of crushing defeat against the tower. It wasn't like as bad as I feared. There was a point where I thought I was doing quite well in the mid game, and then he kind of pulled it back. So it was a good backwards and forwards game. Zimbad and Mrs. T.I. both won their games, but it was a great to sort of open up with a game against good friends and warm up a little bit. So yeah, it was enjoyable, and the terrain was nice, and it was really good as well that I was kind of I was deployed up here, and from a narrative point of view, I had my novitiates up here defending the sort of cathedral thing with the big sisters statue on top, and then the tower kind of arrayed over here trying to get up to me. So that was cool. That was a cool game. Round 2, we were playing against a Scottish team called Kilt Team, and this was these great guys from Scotland, and actually all were in kilts, and they went on to win Best Opponent. They were really lovely guys to play against. They were full of spirit and enthusiasm, and they're full of banter, and they're very relaxed, and we had a really, all 3 of us said it was a really, really good game. Again, I had a close loss for me against Wormblade. And that was, yeah, it was unfortunate. Again, I don't quite understand where I went wrong. I managed to kill quite a lot of them, but I think it was just, again, he kind of pulled it back towards the end and getting the objectives and getting his secondaries scored. One thing I do want to talk about, vantage point. You know, this was in my deployment zone, so I was able to get my sniper up on there to start with, and likewise he had this in his, you know. So they really weren't shy about giving you. I don't think it was quite my deployment zone, but the ladder was like basically in my deployment zone. So I was able to get on there and shoot turn one. So they really weren't shy about giving you access to Vantage. I know some people online are like, oh, players shouldn't have ready access to Vantage. I will say we had the smokestacks, the smokestack here, and there was a smokestack here. It's just come off my picture, and that we had these sort of smoke things that provided cover. We totally forgot, either of us, to interact with them at any point, and we just played as if they weren't there, which is really quite embarrassing, I suppose. But what are you going to do? We should have remembered, both of us, to like roll the 5 up to see if the smoke turns on and if that does anything, but neither of us did. On my team, Zimbad won again, and Mrs. Tailtables had a nail-biting draw, like it was a really close draw, so we kind of had a win, a draw, and a loss on both sides, so it was an even draw versus the kill team guys. Round 3, it was a bit of an awkward game for me. So I was playing against Pathfinders again. Obviously, I'd already lost 2 games. This is the 3rd game of the day now. I was playing against Pathfinders again, and if to look at the table, there's so much light cover. Like, he got to pick the table. You know, so to talk briefly about the way we had the thing set up, we were basically always picking the 1,000 Suns as our defender. So Zimbad was playing Warp Coven, always picking them as our defender, because we reckon Warp Coven had the highest number of really unfavourable matchups. So I was quite often getting picked then as someone who thought they could easily beat me and get into. So quite often my opponent picked the table. And this was just, so first of all, there's that problem. It was quite, and that's fair play. Picking a table is advantageous to you. If anything, I complain a little bit Wow World, because all this light cover that he could kind of get around with his marker lights and stuff. And I've got what is essentially a combat team, and I've got to try and get out to the objectives. This objective here is on the other side of this wall, and this one's over here. So really, there was only the one that I could easily get. Whereas from his side, he had like those that he could much more easily kind of get onto. So it was a real slog. And then I don't want to slate the guy too much. Like, it had been a long day and he was obviously a bit fried, but he kind of did have a real aggressive go at me, because I had my sniper up here on a vantage point and I was trying to shoot somebody who was just behind. It was just a light cover barricade and the guy was behind, and I'm like, and he's on a conceal, obviously, and I shoot him and he's like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, why not? I've got vantage, a straight shot, you're behind light cover. Oh no, it doesn't cancel it. And then he started going about his last game and how in the last game this and this, and I'm just like, alright. And I'm thinking about calling a judge over it, and it feels really petty because I've already lost my 2 games. I'm pretty resigned to the fact that he has picked a strategically advantageous board for him, and he's playing Pathfinders and all the rest of it, and it's not going to make a massive degree of difference. And then his own team captain on his side actually leans over to go, he accepted that eventually, but he still wasn't happy about it. It was like, all right, and I was like, all right, okay. And then later on in that game, he had a shield drone, and I have not even looked this up, but he insisted his shield drone had like Death Guard do, like a feel no pain type save. The shield drone has an invulnerable save, I'm pretty sure, like a normal invulnerable save, so it ignores AP, but he was insisting he was getting a 5-up save against all his wounds, like Plague Marines do, on his shield drone, and yeah, so it was just a bit annoying, really, that game. And the guy, he also said to me that he hadn't finished any of his games yet, and I was like, I didn't say anything to him. I was just sort of smiled and nodded. I was like, we had so much time I don't understand how that happens. And I think maybe he did say to me, "Oh, I'm very dyslexic and I get overwhelmed by stuff and this, that, and the other." And fair enough. Like, fair enough. I'm a teacher myself, and I suddenly kind of dropped into this mode where I was being very relaxed and very kind of calm, and I was just saying okay, and I was doing my stuff as factually and as unambiguously as possible, and he was going on about stuff, but I mentally checked out at that point, and I was like, I want to try and make sure this guy kind of has a nice time, and you know, I'm not saying that I would have won if he wasn't being a bit cantankerous, because, like I say, the game and the map and the matchup and the team and the fact that I was playing, I think, obviously badly, didn't help. But it was just, I didn't need it. I didn't need it. Okay. So I lost. Mrs. Tail to Impulse won versus the Commandos again. She kept planning to play Commandos with the Harlequins. Zimbad lost to Forge World team, I think. So that was game 3. So then, just a quick pause there. That was the end of the first day. So I was a little bit kind of feeling that I was dragging the team down, because, you know, people were winning and drawing, and I had lost every game. We had a little chat as we went back to the Riverside Farm. We had some dinner, we had some beers, and we had a little chat. I was talking about my roster, and it was the first time, this tournament is the first time I've used the Novitiate Flamethrowers. So if you follow the channel, it took me ages to get my hands on the second box, and then with moving house and everything else, it took me ages to get those 2 models painted up, and I finally got them painted up for this event. And I was subbing out my the Mace Lady and the banner. And when Zimbad heard this, like, he looks terrified, like, no, and he's like, no, not the Mace Lady. She's like one of the worst ones. Like the medic, the Mace Lady, and the Cup Lady are like the worst. Oh, and so put the Mace Lady back in for the second day, and generally tended to sub out the comms. The Dialogus, right, the comms model instead. So I was not using the banner or the comms after that for day 2. Flamers are really good. The Flamers did a lot of work in all my games. Well, no, not in every game. Some games I thought. I think in every game actually the Flamers got a kill. Like, I wasn't not killing stuff. The Flamers were doing really pretty well. So definitely recommend taking those. I wish I had more practice in with them. If I was being kind to myself, I would be like, well, the reason I did so badly at the tournament was because of moving house and everything else. But all those sources of stress are also things that Mrs. Tabletop Impulse has been having to deal with, and she did really, really well. So, yeah, I've not really got any excuses. Right, so on to day 2, round 4. So round 4, I'm playing against Custodes. So Compendium Custodes. The fella had 2 Custodes and 5 Sisters of Silence of various types, which I think is how you run them. And I just, like, I was pretty handily killing those Sisters of Silence with various things, no problem. Kill them in combat, kill them with my sniper rifle, kill them with flamethrowers, kill them all day long. But what do you do when there's a custodian in the middle of the board? And then I wanted to capture the middle. I wanted to capture this piece of terrain. You know, I had things from the security deck that I wanted to do. Needed to get a board presence, and then this custodian's just there in the middle of the board with his 3 APL, and you go, okay, well, my leader with a plasma pistol could have done some serious damage, but I lost her pretty early on. I played that badly. And then at that point, you've got these powerful combat characters, and you charge them into a Custode, and maybe you do 5 damage or 6 damage, and then they die. And they die in your activation, so you're just kind of feeding your high-value models into this Custode. I eventually reduced one of the Custodes down to like 2 wounds. It ended up being pretty tight, pretty narrow loss, and my opponent enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the game, to be fair. Yeah. Custodes are still pretty good, at least. I don't know. I was feeling pretty despondent because I hadn't won in a game, and I'm losing another game, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know how to play. And I was trying to, hopefully my opponents thought I was being pretty positive. I was trying to be positive. I was trying to put a bit of a brave face, maybe how I was feeling inside at the time. But yeah, so it was another loss for me to the Custodes, and of course Zimbad and Mrs. Tail Impulse won both their games as well, because they're much better players than I am. and that was domination. No, to be fair, it was apart from that last game of day one, right? The first 2 games on day one, all the games on day 2 were all actually pretty enjoyable games in different ways. So I'm sounding a little bit negative now looking back on it, because the story here, for those of you that want to skip to the end, is I didn't win a single game across the 6 games of the day. My teammates variously won quite a lot, but yeah. Round 5. So I'm just going to bring up something else. I'm sure Matt Godlington belonged to a team, and the team had a name, but on Best Coast Pairings, a lot of people had typed in the team captain's name rather than the team name, because the app isn't very well set up for the format that Games Workshop are running. And so when I post the full scores from Warhammer World at the end of the slides, I'm not totally sure which team this was, because when I check my BCP pairings, I just see Matt Godlington. Look, if you are Matt Godlington and you want to comment down the bottom and say, my team name was, that would be really cool. I was playing against Compendium Tyranids. It was an amazing game. Again, I'm going to say it was a narrow loss. I had some great fun. You know, he had like loads of Gene Stealers. We both had, again, Hold the Middle, and we were both trying to get this piece of heavy terrain. And he had loads of Gene Stealers in here, and I came in with a flamethrower. I managed to kill like 2.5 of them. And I really thought I was going to win. But again, those gaunts with the upgrade that gives them the acid flamethrower, and just against 7 wound sisters that also want to be up close and in combat, it was not a good matchup. I'm sure there's things that I could have done that I didn't see, but I just couldn't, like. And the Gene Stealers I was killing pretty handily with different things, but I just couldn't do anything about these gaunts. They would just tear me up, flamethrower me, and yeah, if I charge them, I kill them, and I shoot them with a sniper rifle and kill them. But there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, and something I have to reflect on is I think of. Because I remember playing at the start of Kill Team, and I think of a 10 model team like Novitiates as being a big team. But actually, you know, first game, Pathfinders, they outnumbered me, right? Third game was Pathfinders, they outnumbered me. Middle game was Worm Cult, they outnumbered me. Okay, the Custodes didn't outnumber me, but now we're back onto Tyranids, outnumbered again. And suddenly I'm having to not... And I'd gotten used to playing quite recklessly, I think, with my Novitiates, because you think, I've got loads of models, I can afford to lose 1 or 2, but all the time now you're playing against teams with even more models than you, which is just like... To get my head around that, I guess it's it's the Mrs. T.I. was playing Harlequins, Zimbad was playing Warp Coven, like I said. So the kind of games that we've been playing, I feel like I was the big team and I felt like I could play in a certain way. It was really, gosh, right? And then we come on to the last game, which was terrible, but my opponent was a perfect gentleman. But I did get absolutely stomped, so I'm not even going to pretend that it was a narrow loss. It was not. Again, I don't know the team name. The name in BCP is just Peter Worsley of the team captain. So if you are Peter Worsley, if you could just drop me down and let me know your team name in the comments, that would be good. I got absolutely massacred by Vet Guard. So this guy who was playing these Vet Guard was really clever. Okay, so he won the role and chose to defend and picked this half of the board, right? Look how much terrain he's got there. And essentially what there was like this channel of no man's land running here, where I'm having to come out of any kind of cover to get this central objective, because in domination it's all about this central objective. Having to come out to get this central objective, and he's got the guys, he's got loads of grenades, he knows that I'm having to bunch up a little bit. I lost about 5 models, I think, in turning point 1, and he lost 3 or 4, but the thing is, he's running guys forwards at me, you know, he's running troopers out to throw a grenade and then I'm killing the trooper that he's kind of fed to me, and I knew it was happening. I knew it was being baited, right? But I didn't know what to do about it. Like, I knew I was doing it. I'm like, this is a mistake because I'm being pulled out of position, and then he's going to shoot with something else, and he's feeding me these expendable troops. He's doing the classic Imperial Guard thing. Like, I knew it was happening, but at the same time, you get a model, and it's your activation, and what are you going to do? Just stand there and go, no, I do nothing, and stand behind this statue? You've got to move forward. You've got to try and get onto the objective. You've got to take the kills that you can, right? I couldn't get to his other stuff because it was all concealed behind heavy cover, and most of my things are combat. And it was brutal, but I mean that in a really positive way, because I was kind of in awe of this gentleman's skill level. What I do question, and this is I guess it's a Warhammer World question or is a PCP question, normally by round 6 of the tournament, like, you're playing someone comfortable because you've kind of got to your own skill level. I do wonder what went on with the Swiss there in terms of what these guys were good. Like, these guys wiped Mrs. Tails Impulse and Zimbad as well. Not as quickly as I got wiped, but it was our only game where we straight lost. They were really good. They were a really good team, really skilled guys. I don't know what they were doing playing against us in the final round, to be fair. And I thought the guy I was playing against as well, he was getting visibly a little bit ticked off, because I'm not trying to make excuses, I've quite mild cerebral palsy and I was quite tired. I'm trying to move things, and I am kind of inexactly moving things, and I'm pushing the terrain around everywhere and nudging stuff a little bit, and every time I nudge something he's adjusting it back and getting it exactly right, and his movements are all really, really practiced and precise. He's really taking the game really seriously. Really great, exemplary play, to say that it was the end of 2 long days. And I talked to him a little bit afterwards. I think, you know how it is, people beat you that badly, and he was apologising and I was apologising, and we all just apologised, because obviously he wanted a decent game, not one that finished 40 minutes early, so we were all apologising to each other. And then he basically said, you know, we came from London and we play, he told me like he plays Kill Team twice a week every week. Great, you know, that's a great experience. And he basically was cursed because it seems like he'd come down and his first 2 games of the first day have been against the other London teams of players of his similar skill level, and he'd lost some of their games, and he lost both of his like first sets of games. So maybe he was like he was ended up being like the weaker of the bracket of the really strong teams from London, and therefore it kind of got skewed. So he was kind of trying to work his way back up. So maybe that's why we ended up playing each other. But it was one of those games that really makes you think, like, damn, I'm not good at this. Right? Like, no, doesn't. Yeah, and in fairness, yeah, I can make excuses. He would be the first person to say he also had hot dice that game, but that was just like he would have won anyway, I think, right? But damn, I'm not very good at this game, right? And that was, there's something about that experience that's actually positive, though, because at least you see it, you see what the high level players like, and you go, okay, that's the 4D chess. That's he's doing this, therefore I'm going to do that, therefore he's going to do that, and he's going to win. Like, I'm really impressed. It was painful, but it was really impressive. So the final scores, you know, we are here, 11, kind of the bottom half in the middle. I think for not a bad showing for the team, but I didn't win a single game, and I felt really bad for letting my teammates down. Like, Zimbad and my wife have both told me multiple times last night and today, they don't care. They don't care, I don't care. It's fine, went to have fun, blah, blah, blah. But personally, for me, in my soul, I feel bad for doing it. It would have been nice just to win a game. Mad props to my mate Ibex and his friends, the Xeno friends, who managed to take away the bronze trophies. Like, that's really cool. I don't know how he managed it, because at the end of game day 1, his team was ranked lower than ours. Like, we were on 7th and he was on 8th, right? But he just must have stomped up, stomped up that second day. I'm so happy for them, so proud of them, so pleased for them. Like mad props. Like, you know, if you know anything about competitive kill team in the UK, first place, Command Point UK, big YouTube channel. Second place, Can You Roll a Crit, big YouTube channel. Like, you've heard of these guys. Third place, like one of my old school friends, his good mate that he plays against, and a third guy that he works with that hadn't really played, didn't really know what was going on, and they got to third place, and that's, yeah, well done them. We're down here on 11. Again, as a team, I think it was a pretty good showing. Oh, individually for me, I do feel like I let people down. I do feel like I let people down on my team. There you go. I want to shout out to the Kilt team as well. The Scottish guys, they were just a great bunch of lads. They're so positive, so relentlessly cheerful, and excuse me, stop! So relentlessly cheerful and happy and everything else. Ignore me shouting at my Google Home, which is telling me that it's nearly time for bed. Blah. Bah! Yeah, so that was the final scores. So, final thoughts. I'm just not very good at this. So I really want novitiates to work. I really want to crack them. Because I really like Sisters of Battle as a concept. I really like the novitiates models. I really like the faith mechanic. I really like them. But I have to face facts that, like, statistically, not getting a single win, I just can't, something isn't clicking in my brain. And all the way in the car, I was rolling around the kind of, do I just get loads more practice games in with novitiates and try and, like, wait till a pin drops or something clicks in my brain, I just get it? Or do I pivot to something else? And if so, what? I'm going to mess around with Compendium Death Guard for a while, just because they're really solid, and basically they are everything novitiates aren't. And they've got that recent buff, so you get a 6th model, there's 6 of them. They're the most solid thing there is. They're really quite a good shooting team. And between myself and Zimbab, they're models that we just have lying around from the old starter sets in the last edition of 40k. I'm probably not going to pivot to them as like a main competitive focus or anything like that, but just like a refresher, because I don't want to let the bad experience make me drop out of Kill Team, because I love the game. I enjoy, like, apart from that third game on the Saturday, each individual game would have been a perfectly happy, wonderful, enjoyable experience that would make me smile. It's just when you stack up like 6 losses, 5 of them felt like quite narrow losses, but when you stack them all up, you can't help but thinking, oh, I'm probably just not very good. So I'm going to have a mess around with the Compendium Death Guard for a while, and I'm going to see where that kind of flow takes me. I am signed up for the next singles tournament in June at Warhammer Worlds. I'll be up for that with something, and we'll see how it goes from there. So this has been a little bit of a longer video than usual. I hope that you enjoy it and find it interesting. If you were at that tournament, I'm really interested to hear from you in the comments at the bottom. You know, any thoughts and feedback that you have. And yeah, I think that's probably about that. Again, if you enjoyed the video and you enjoy this kind of rambly content, then please do subscribe. It really helps out a smaller channel like mine. If you like the video, press the like button, and if you look at all the other things in the description, you'll see all the other ways you can interact with the channel, including joining the Discord server, which I highly recommend. I hope you have a great day. I hope if you went to Warhammer World, you had a great time yourself, regardless of how well you did. And if you've got any advice for me as well, like, yeah, I'd love advice. I'd love feedback. I'd love criticism, even if it's just like, you are stupid and you should do this other thing, oh my god, but I will still take that on board. I got quite a thick skin in that regard, so please don't worry about offending me either. I really would like to, you know, have a better showing next time I go to an organised event. Alright guys, thanks a lot, cheerio.